All right, guys, I'm doing sort of a mini deep dive today, and I'm talking about a brand called Frapin. We're talking about 13 Frapin fragrances, and Frapin is a fragrance house, a niche fragrance house that's known for their cognac. So I believe they've originated from the city of Cognac because they do produce cognac there. I've actually been to Cognac in France, by the way, and did do some tasting, but I didn't know about Frapin when I was there. But it's a brand that I've followed. They're known for a few fragrances, which I'm going to highlight here today. But the way I'm doing this deep dive is talking about some of their most recent fragrances and kind of like adding some of their more popular fragrances as I go throughout the list. So it's not in any kind of an order, just starting with some of their most recent offerings and then going down the line to some more popular offerings and then getting to the end of the list. So if you're a fan of the house, let me know what your favorite fragrances are from Frapin. Do add a comment below. Have you had their cognac? I actually have never had their cognac, and I'm quite curious, as I do think they do quite great boozy fragrances, and we've got a few of them here. Also, if you want to buy any of these fragrances, I have it linked in the info box to Lucky Scent. You can go there directly and check out the fragrances and read about the fragrances and so on. But let me know your favorite Frapin fragrances. Add a comment below. Let's get started with the list. So first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is a Julien Rasquinet creation called 6 Hours to Rio. You familiar with this one? Are you guys familiar with Julien Rasquinet? It was great to have been able to work with him creating a fragrance. We did 54 for Juicebox. This is not anything similar. This is kind of musky, citrusy, spicy, and woody. And I think it gets boozy as well, but it's quite powdery. And you do have that signature Julien Rasquinet kind of a Middle Eastern touch in here in the fragrance as well, kind of like slightly leathery, woody, and a bit of a Middle Eastern edge to it. But what I like about this, it's quite musky and powdery, and so nothing is like overwhelming, and I think it's a nice balance of all of the notes together. It's kind of soft and resinous, powdery, fruity, and musky. I quite like it. When I'm talking about fruity though, this is not like super fruity. There's a fruity touch about it, and I think it's coming from the booziness, but it's quite gorgeous. He did a great job on this one. Wear this one when it's super warm outside, not cold warm. I think it's a great warm weather fragrance. 6 Hours to Rio, and you kind of get an idea. Rio meaning in Brazil. It's a tropical destination next to the sea, so the kind of fragrance this is, I think the inspiration is totally awesome, and a great name as well. Although I don't think it takes 6 hours to get to Rio from here, but it's a destination that I've been wanting to go to one of these days. But either way, let me know if you've sampled 6 Hours to Rio from the house of Frapin. Let's go back in time to the Orchid Man next. Are you familiar with the Orchid Man? This is a Jerome Epinette fragrance. He is a perfumer for Robertet. And Jerome Epinette, you're probably familiar with the name. He is mostly known for a lot of fragrances for Byredo, Wilhelm Perfumery, and so on. So here we have a classic, I guess it's like a men's fragrance freshie. So classic style, aromatic, fruity, and citrusy. And once again, the fruitiness is more like citrus fruity. It's not like a very distinct fruit, but there is a slight fruitiness in here as well. So it's very masculine. It's very fresh. Once again, wear this in the most warm temperatures. I think it's the kind of fragrance that it will smell great on you, knowing that it's a freshy, a masculine, citrusy, classy kind of a combo of notes. It does remind me of the DNA of Aventus, of the DNA of Cedrat Boisé and things like that. So it's in that kind of a style. But what I like about this one, there's a slight creamy undertone, which adds a smooth layer. So it's great when it does that with the Orchid Man. And I think the orchid is a beautiful flower, and I always associate flowers with having a creaminess. So this is giving me the experience of an orchid. Maybe a little bit more of a magnolia, but I'm more familiar with magnolias, but I can see that kind of an effect happening. And I don't know where they get the name the Orchid Man, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the flower itself, but I can kind of see the texture of this fragrance, giving me the effect of the petals and the creaminess of flowers. But, it's a really classy offering. You'll be familiar with this DNA. And of course, it's fresh, citrusy, aromatic, spicy, woody, awesome scent. I like this profile, the Orchid Man. Let me know if you're familiar with the Orchid Man. Add a comment below. All right, next we're going to talk about Le Humaniste. That's how you say it. This is actually also kind of a familiar DNA, but it's so super cozy. I like that about it. This is a Sidonie Lancesseur creation, and it has spices, it has citrusy notes, and also has these kind of warmer, kind of more ambery notes in the base. So it's kind of like a fusion of warmth but fresh at the same time. So I think the two styles are the two temperatures, I should say. The freshness, the cool qualities, and the warmth and the base are kind of like competing with one another. So it creates a nice balance. It's a great smell. You've got the freshness, the citruses, the fresh spices, and some of the warmer touches when it's drying down. Along the way, there's aromatics and additional spices that are coming through, and woods. But for me, this DNA is really, really awesome. This is also kind of a familiar DNA. You'll be familiar with something maybe like Allure from Chanel, Allure pour Homme, or Allure Homme, I think it's what it's called. And although I like the potency of this version more than Chanel's version, so if you like that DNA, definitely a fragrance you should try. This one actually launched in 2009. The 6 Hours to Rio launched in 2024, and I believe the Orchid Man launched in 2015. I've been forgetting to let you guys know the dates on the launch dates or the release dates for these fragrances. But also, Le Humaniste is a really fabulous offering. Sometimes you might think, okay, it's extremely fresh. I don't like super fresh fragrances. Or maybe you're dealing with more like autumn weather when it's kind of warm during the day and cool in the night. So you want the fragrance a bit more substantial than an all outright freshy. That's when you would pull for fragrances like Le Humaniste. So we're going to go forward to 2024 again, and we've got an extreme version of Le Humaniste. This is this one right here. As you can see, the color of the juice is darker. So the extreme is much more concentrated and has more substantial notes. And when they're dark, that when they're making a more concentrated version of a mostly fresh fragrance, they're adding certain types of notes. It kind of darkens the juice because they have, like natural colors with those ingredients. So this is 2024. I don't know if this is the Sidonie Lancesseur. I couldn't find a perfumer for this, but I'm assuming since she created the original, she must have created this as well, especially since she's still working in the business. She's with Robertet, I believe, just like Jerome Epinette. First time I heard of Sidonie Lancesseur's name was for fragrances she created for by Julien. I think Straight to Heaven is one of them, which I was a big fan of. Well, I still am. So Le Humaniste Extreme is a much more thicker, denser, more concentrated version of the original. I feel like they've toned down the freshness and amplified the stronger notes. So this is a bit more base heavy, base forward heavy, but it's overall the same smell. It's not identical. It smells a bit more spicy, a bit more woody, and also a bit more resinous balsamic as well. There's some, like fruity nuances that come in, fruity and floral nuances. But yeah, the peppery touches are a bit more amplified here. So there are differences for sure. Depends on what you like. If you want something a bit more fresh, go with the original. If you want more substantial, go with the extreme version. So that's Le Humaniste Extreme. I'm probably butchering the French pronunciation of that name, but that's the best I can do. All right, up next, we're talking about probably the most popular fragrance in the line. At least to me, these are the most popular. It's a series of two, an original one, and also an extreme one. But I have to be honest, I actually reviewed these fragrances and I felt like the extreme of this is fresher than the original. And I'll explain to you what I'm, experiencing. The fragrance actually is 1270. So this is like a holiday spice kind of a fragrance. It's warm ambery, but also holiday spicy and also a bit fruit cakey. So if you like the idea of this kind of a fragrance, this is definitely one for you to try. So there's also booziness here for sure, but I think it's all the notes mixing together, but it's kind of cozy, comforting, ambery, but also fruity, spicy, and boozy at the same time. It makes for a really wonderful experience. So it has like raisiny notes, holiday spices, light leather in the dry down, nutty notes and things like that all thrown in. So to me, it acts like a fruit cake that has like booze drizzled all over it. I don't know, it's just a kind of a recipe I'm thinking or envisioning, but definitely one of the best from the line. And I think people tend to like this one quite a bit. So that came out in 2010. Le Humaniste Extreme came out in 2024. The 1270 and 1270 Extreme are both Sidonie Lancesseur, just like the Le Humaniste fragrances. So she seems to be kind of a popular perfumer for this house, especially since they've made extreme versions of both of the fragrances that I'm talking about back to back. So here's the difference between the original and the extreme. The extreme and the original are similar ideas, whereas I thought the extreme would go into a more denser direction, a more substantial, a lot more warmer, maybe ambery, fiery. But for me, the 1270 Extreme got fresher. It's still fruits, it's still similar notes, but whereas 1270 Original is like dried fruits, like raisins and things like that, for me, 1270 Extreme is fresh fruits, not the dried fruits. So for me, fresh fruits are fresher, dried fruits are, warmer, more substantial. So I get that kind of a difference here. And I feel like the 1270 Extreme, you can totally wear in warm weather because of the fresh fruits. And I kind of am favoring the Extreme more. It's got a sexier smell to it, whereas the original is more cozy and, holiday vibes. The Extreme is got this sexiness and also the kind of fragrance that's addicting. You want to keep spraying it. And once you get past the confusion, at least that's how I'm experiencing it. This is how I'm experiencing 1270 Extreme. I feel like it's fresher than the original. And, once you get past it, you really enjoy this one. It's super, super awesome. Smells delicious. It's really super sexy. I like the combination of the fruits and the spices together, and really a addicting smell. Really wonderful. So I mentioned By Kilian Straight to Heaven. It's also got fruity notes. It's got dried fruity notes. So it's a given that Sidonie Lancesseur likes to use these notes because both of these fragrances have the fruity notes. And again, as I was explaining, the 1270 is like dried fruits, but the 1270 Extreme is fresher fruits. Let me know if you get that similar, like the thing that I'm experiencing. Do you get like fresher fruits with the 1270 Extreme in comparison to the original 1270? Do add a comment below. So the 1270 Extreme launched in 2022, but we're gonna skip ahead to 2023 with another boozy fragrance called Bonne Chauffe, and this is created by Meabh McCurtin. I think she's with IFF. Bonne Chauffe is a yummy fragrance, by the way. If you guys haven't discovered this one, please do. And I think the brand does boozy really nicely. Of course, it's a Cognac brand. And I've never known of a boozy brand or, like a brand that releases spirits that's in the perfume business. So would you call this more of a designer then? Whereas it's got actual products, Frapin has products outside of perfume and they make fragrances. So is this really a niche house, or is it a designer? Because, you've got Lalique who makes, not jewelry, but glassware and things like that, and they have fragrances. Bentley has cars and fragrances. Dior has clothing and shoes and accessories and things like that, and perfumes. So the difference, let me know. What are your thoughts on this? But going to Bonne Chauffe, this one to me is a lot darker than both of the 1270 and the 1270 Extreme. This one to me acts boozy and thick and dense, and like there's a resinous quality about it, and I feel like it's fruity boozy. So I'm getting that a little bit with the idea of dried fruits. The texture is drier, a bit more ambery, a bit more dense. So it's also a darker experience, a bit smoky, a bit leathery as well. And you've got all of these things happening here because of all these different notes. So it's a different fragrance, similar idea to 1270, but smelling different. But once again, boozy and fruity and ambery and resinous. Super delicious. I don't think Bon Chauffe is as popular as 1270 or 1270 Extreme, but definitely is a great quality offering from the house. And again, if you like the idea of boozy, fruity fragrances, definitely check this one out. I think also this is a plum-focused fragrance in regards to fruits. And I feel like the plums are like dried plums, not the fresh plums. It acts that way. And having consumed so many plums, both in the dry form and the fresh form, you kind of get to, experience how or what kind of a fruit they're using. To me, it acts like a dried plum. It could be using fresh plums, but it's acting like dry. So that is Bon Chauffe from the house of Frapin, created in 2023. Now, this next one is a tough name. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it. It's Attendre and ESPERER. I think that's how you say it. This is also created by Meabh McCurtin, same perfumer. This is actually a vetiver focused fragrance, so it leans masculine, and it's got a nutty note in it. It has walnuts. So I have had the pleasure of smelling the fragrances that feature nutty notes or nuts with vetiver, and I almost feel like it's an accord that they're creating. They're bringing out a nutty side of the vetiver. Is that the case? Because I see this coming up quite often. In this case, it's walnuts and it's vetiver. It's a bright vetiver. It's not super smoky, slightly nutty, and the walnuts are, you can notice it, but it's not like in your face nutty. So it's not a gourmand. It's just there to add this, contrast to the vetiver for a slight nutty effect with it. But there's spices, there's peppery notes. It actually acts a little bit like grains as well, not necessarily like nuts, but nuts and grains together. So it's powdery, but super woody. So the vetiver has the woody, grassy qualities, but this also has cedar in it and, black pepper too, to give it a contrast with spices. Lovely fragrance here. There is a little bit of a freshness with citruses as well when you, starting to like really focus in on the fragrance. But what I love about it is how the grassy vetiver and the walnut note, the nuttiness, are interacting in this fragrance. So that is a fragrance created by Meabh McCurtin, launched in 2023, same year as Bon Chauffe. Both of them created by the same perfumer, as I said, but the name of this one is Attendre and ESPERER. Yeah, I know I'm butchering the name, but I'm doing my best. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is called CHECKMATE. I actually have a full review of this one, I believe, on the channel. I do have several standalone videos on this house on the channel, so search for them, and I've mentioned the fragrances in various videos. This came out in 2021. It's created by Anne-Sophie Behaghel and Camille Chemardin. To me, this is a powdery, woody fragrance with spices. Comes off simplistic. It's a bit leathery as well, maybe slightly smoky, but those are kind of like behind the scenes, kind of trying to, take center stage, but the woods and spices and the powdery notes are kind of winning out. It does have a bit of freshness with citruses, and also the irisy note in here is acting a bit vegetal. So this might be a bit simplistic. It's not super, complex. There's a simplistic quality about it. So that is CHECKMATE from 2021. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then we've got Bois Blanc. I like this one quite a bit. This is also, this is created by Anne-Sophie Behaghel, whereas the previous fragrance is Anne-Sophie Behaghel with Camille Chemardin. So they're both at Flair. This one, Bois Blanc, launched in 2020. And I love this one because it's full of musky notes with woods. So it's called Bois Blanc, so white wood. And it's so super sexy. Really, really sexy. I love the way this smells. It's got an addicting, musky smell. It's got ambroxan. There's some light citruses in here. Slight smoky touches, but so good. So good. The interaction between the woods and spices and the ambroxan is super sexy, and the ambroxan creates the kind of ambery, musky, woody, powdery, slightly salty, aquatic touch. It's to replicate ambergris, but it doesn't smell like it. It just kind of acts like it in fragrances. But this one, if you like a straightforward, musky, woody fragrance, powdery as well, you got to try this one. It's so super sexy. Created by Anne-Sophie Behaghel, and I've been mentioning her quite a bit with Vanilla Mudslide. She created that one, and she created this one as well. And if you like her touch, you got to check that one out, especially if you like more simplistic but musky, woody, spicy, powdery fragrances. All right, and last but not least, we've got If by RK. If by RK. I think the RK stands for Rudyard Kipling. I think that's who it stands for. This is a 2019 offering, and this one is also Anne-Sophie Behaghel, but I prefer Bois Blanc over this one, but this would be number 2, and then Checkmate would be number 3 between the 3 fragrances. This is woody, spicy, a bit fruity from figs, but there's also warm spices in here as well. Once again, it's kind of simplistic. It does lean masculine. The last 3 fragrances do lean masculine, but no rules, and women can totally wear them. But there's a slight creaminess here and also earthiness as well. But I like the contrast of the warmth of the cinnamon with the fruitiness of the fig, but it's also giving me some green vibes as well with the fig. So that is If by RK from the house of Frapin. So those are all the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about today from Frapin, highlighting some of their, classics, older releases with some of their newest releases. 6 Hours de Rio, check that out. It's quite great. I love it, especially when it's warm. The Orchid Man and Le Humaniste are very popular from the brand. And of course, 1270 is also quite popular from this house. Let me know which fragrance sounds great to you. Let me know which one you own and you enjoy wearing. Don't forget to check these fragrances out at Lucky Scent. I have it linked in the info box. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, list below. Please like the video and share it. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and click the bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. See you guys later. Bye-bye.